Well, welcome back to Sydney Stoma Channel. My name's Chris. Hope you're doing really well. Hope you're staying safe and very well in these current COVID times that we have. Certainly in the UK, we're now starting to look at reducing some of our restrictions, and loads of vaccines have gone out in the UK, which is amazing, the amount of vaccines that have been done. So hopefully by June, end of June, I think the UK will be out of all of COVID restrictions, which would be really nice. But let's just hope people are then going to be sensible when that happens. That's the biggest worry, isn't it? We have a date where we can get back to some sort of normality, but then people will go a bit crazy. We could end up back in the same situation. So let's hope people are going to be sensible. But anyway, this video, let's talk about this video. This video is about alcohol and can you drink alcohol with Crohn's disease? And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about my relationship with alcohol. So the main question that I get asked an awful lot is, can you drink alcohol with Crohn's disease? And that's difficult because everybody with Crohn's has different symptoms and suffers in different ways, and it can affect different parts of the digestive system, different parts of the entire body really. No Crohn's disease patient is exactly the same as the next one, so that is quite difficult. For me, it comes down to the word moderation. I think we're generally okay in moderation with most things. If you have an excess of something, it can always generally cause a problem. So I think it comes down to moderation. When we really shouldn't have alcohol is if we are in a flare-up. We really shouldn't be having alcohol if we're in a flare-up. It's not going to help. So if we just think about what alcohol does to a normal body, not a Crohn's body or an ulcerative colitis body, if we just think about a normal, healthy human being, if you like, and I don't like to use the word normal because we're all different in different ways. But what alcohol does is it will break down the lining that's in our intestines. And for people that have Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis, that lining is quite important to us, because once that starts breaking down, inflammation's going to start, and we can end up going into a flare, or worse, going into hospital. So that lining that we have in our intestines is super, super important to us and to everybody. So alcohol will break down that lining. As I say, that lining protects. It's there to protect your intestines. So if that gets broken down, you're definitely going to lead to flares, or if you haven't got Crohn's or UC, it could lead to health problems for you. So that's what alcohol in its simplest form would do in the intestines. It would break down that protective layer. And alcohol is also known to cause inflammation in the gut. So with Crohn's and UC, we get inflammation, regardless of alcohol. So if we've got inflammation in our gut and then we put alcohol in it and it starts breaking down that lining, and it starts causing inflammation, then yeah, we're going to end up quite unwell. So that's what it does in its simplest term. There's lots more that alcohol does, but I just want to keep it straightforward and simple. So if you're in a flare, then no, do not drink alcohol if you're in a flare. That is not a good thing. And then I hear some professionals say if you're in remission, you shouldn't drink alcohol. Well, I find that difficult, because if you're in remission, it generally means that you're okay, not necessarily healthy, but you're okay, and you want to avoid things that could put you back into a flare and put you back in hospital, etc. I'd say I've been in remission, if you like, for a long, long time, and I do drink alcohol, and we're going to talk about that as well. So if you're in a flare, don't. Professionals say if you're in remission, don't. But then when can you drink alcohol? That's tricky, isn't it, really? So I do drink alcohol, and I am what I call in remission. When my disease isn't active, we're in remission. And I'd say that I'm fairly healthy at the moment. So, and I've been healthy generally ever since I had my colostomy. Since I've had my colostomy, my Crohn's disease has been very well behaved, doesn't really flare up. I get tiny, minor little flares, but they're nothing that cause me any worry. So let's talk about me. I want to talk about me because I'm not a medical professional. I'm just a Crohn's disease sufferer with a colostomy that wants to help other people. So I'm not a medical professional. I'm not a doctor, and I'm not going to give you advice. But I am going to talk to you about my relationship with alcohol. So years and years ago, way before I had a colostomy, I used to drink what we call mainstream lagers. They're known as macro lagers. A macro brewery is a brewery that produces beer to the masses, thousands of cans of the stuff or bottles of the stuff, and it's available everywhere. And I did used to drink those types of lagers. And my amazing wife, Rachel, she always used to say to me, those lagers were definitely affecting my Crohn's. And I used to deny it for ages. And I'm not saying I was a big drinker. I'm not saying I was drinking lots and lots every single day. I wasn't. And I liked a beer. And I used to, because I liked it, I didn't want to admit that perhaps these mainstream lagers were having an effect on my Crohn's disease. So I used to say to my wife, no, it's not the beer, it's not the beer, it's not the beer, it's not the beer. And then eventually I had to pay attention to Rachel, and I had to think, she could have a point. Actually, after I've drunk these beers, I do feel bloated, my stomach feels sore, it feels irritated, I've got mini flares, and I had to accept that some of those mainstream, what we call macro lagers, were having a big effect on my Crohn's disease. So I thought, well, there's only one thing I can do really, is give up beer and not drink beer, and look at alternatives. And that's generally the kind of journey I went down. I then started to look at other alternatives to beer. I've got some examples here of things that I may drink. So we've got red wine, we've got gin, there's a whiskey, and then we've got what we call craft beers, which I'll talk about in a second as well. So the thought of never having a beer again, I didn't like that idea. Because like I say, I like a beer. You know, I'm not saying I drink copious amounts, I'm not saying I get drunk all the time, because I don't like being drunk. Excuse me. So I did give up those lagers, and I went on this little journey of finding other types of beers that might not affect my Crohn's disease as much, or if at all. And that's what led me onto the journey of drinking what is known as craft beers. And craft beers are made by what are called micro breweries, which are small breweries that put out limited numbers of beers, and they generally have much better ingredients in them. I'm not saying they're healthy, that's not what I mean, but you know, better quality of ingredients in them. And I went on this journey of finding different craft beers and found that they didn't have the same impact as mainstream lagers would, which was great for me, because there's a whole world of craft beers out there that are just absolutely amazing, that you don't know are there until you go looking. So if it's something that does interest you, just put craft beers in Google and it will show you. This one here is in the UK. This is a craft beer, and it's a pale ale, and it's very fruity and they're tropical, quite far away from traditional lagers. So I found that they didn't have a big impact on my Crohn's disease. Red wine that we've got here, I've had this bottle ages, it's still not been opened. Red wine I find is okay. In very small quantities. I do find it can make my stomach a bit acidy, but red wine, it's generally okay. Then we move on to gin. My wife likes gin, we both like gin, and I find that gin actually doesn't do anything to my Crohn's. It really doesn't upset it in any way. But you know, things like gins and spirits have a higher alcohol content as well. So I might have one gin a week, and it does nothing to me. And if I have a couple of gins or even 3 gins in an evening, which is super rare, doesn't seem to affect my stomach in any way. I do like a good whiskey every now and then. I've had this bottle absolutely ages, and as you can see, there's hardly any out of there. Whiskey, whilst I enjoy it, that does upset my stomach. That will give me stomach cramps and stomach pains the following day. So it is rare that I'll have a whiskey. So one of the alcohol that I can enjoy the most are these things, the craft beers, not mass-produced lagers. It depends on where you are in the world, but I think everybody knows the Stella Artois brand, Heineken brand. If you're in America, things like Budweiser, any of those types of mass-produced lagers do affect my Crohn's. They just cause me bloating, they cause soreness. And they do cause diarrhea for me. If I have those types of lagers, my colostomy bag fills up rather quickly. But with things like the craft beers, it doesn't do it. If I was to have a session on those, it's going to have an impact. But like I said, I don't drink copious amounts. I don't really drink to get drunk. I don't like being drunk. I like a few social beers. I like to feel a bit happy and a bit chilled. But you also have to remember that alcohol can be a massive depressant. alcohol is a depressant. And we know that with Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis that we can suffer with mental health. So if you are suffering with mental health, again, definitely avoid alcohol. Don't medicate yourself with alcohol, because that will just push you further and further down. So yeah, I like a beer and I like to enjoy it. I like to taste it. And that's the great thing with the craft beers, is they have such a variety of taste and they're enjoyable, rather than lagers that people just generally drink and don't really think about. So the craft beer turned into a bit of a journey for me and turned into a bit of a side hobby as well. So alcohol, let's get back to the point. Alcohol, would I recommend you drink alcohol? That's for you to decide. I'm certainly saying you shouldn't drink, you shouldn't not have any. If you like it, find a different, but it upsets you, then find something else. Go on a little journey, find other things and try different things that might reduce any symptoms if you like having an alcoholic beverage. If you're in a flare, then of course not, don't. Medications, if you're on medications, I'm very fortunate that I haven't been on any medications for Crohn's for coming up for a year and a half. But if you are on medications, I'd be very careful, because some of alcohol will react badly with some. So always seek some advice from your doctor if you are on medication and alcohol. And if you read the leaflets in medication, it always says don't drink alcohol with this medication. That's always on those leaflets, isn't it? So speak to your doctor, ask your doctor. But be honest with yourselves. If you think alcohol is affecting, if you are drinking alcohol and you are finding you're having gut issues, you are starting to have flare-ups, be honest with yourself. And that's the right thing to do, is just be honest with yourself and think, do you know what? I like a drink every now and then, but I know it's affecting my Crohn's. Just accept that. And then look at alternatives, because there are alternatives that your stomach will be able to cope with. Like gin, for example, just doesn't bother me in any way. But it might you, because we are all different. So go on a journey. Accept that it's causing you problems. Find something different. So can you drink alcohol? Yes, I do. But, you know your body better than anybody else. So react to what your body's doing. And if it's reacting, try something different. If it reacts to that, try something else, if you really want to have a drink. So can you drink alcohol with Crohn's? Yeah, you can. But again, it's moderation. Everything in moderation. What do I drink the most? The drink that I have the most every day is water. This is carbonated water. I've done some research on carbonated water and Crohn's disease, and actually apparently there are some benefits to carbonated water, but I love carbonated water. I probably drink 2 litres of water a day, and if you've got Crohn's, ulcerative colitis, you generally should be drinking a lot of water. We need to keep ourselves hydrated. Certainly if you've got a ileostomy or colostomy, you need to keep yourself hydrated. And that's another point, actually. Since having a colostomy, I found that my alcohol tolerance is far less. I can't tolerate alcohol like I used to. So I don't drink a lot because I would get drunk quicker than the average person. Since I've had a colostomy, I don't know why that is. Probably because there's a chunk of my intestines that's been removed. But yeah, I do find that I can't tolerate alcohol in terms of levels of drunkenness, if you like. So that's another reason why I don't drink large quantities, because I can't anyway, and I get drunk quite quickly, and that's since I've had a colostomy, which is strange. But if I'm having a drink, if I'm having a beer in the evening, I'll always make sure I have water as well. I'll follow that up with some water, help everything flush and move through. So there you go. That's my little discussion about Crohn's disease and alcohol. Does it really answer the question about can you drink alcohol or not? I'm not sure. You tell me in the comments. If you're new to my channel, give it a like, and please feel free to subscribe. If there's anything that anybody wants to know that I haven't done a video on, please put something in the comments. Please ask and I will do a video of it. I think I did a check this morning. I think we're 282 subscribers to my channel, which is amazing considering I don't put out huge amounts of content. So I'm really, really grateful for those that have subscribed. And for all those that have subscribed and anybody that hasn't subscribed, if there's anything you want to know and you'd like to see a video on it, whack it in the comments and I will do a video of it. So that's me done. I hope you're all well, as I said at the beginning. I'll see you all on the next one. Stay safe, look after each other, and I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye now.